It's been a long day for you guys. You've been here since the morning. Lots of information going your way. So I'll try and make it snappy so that everybody keeps on pace. But there's a lot of stuff going on here. And then you'll be able to see the recording so that you can catch up on some of the stuff. But it's mainly focused on Copilot, but one version of Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot. Can I just ask, as a start, have you all heard about Microsoft 365 Copilot or just the Copilot for the web? Just, okay. Okay, so I'm going to guide you through the differences and what you can do with one or the other and see about it. But it's really focusing on how it can really change the way of your school looks at innovation and the productivity and the performance and all the different ways of thinking about what it can do. So as you've noticed, it's been off. The companies are working. It's in the world of work, and 70% of the people seem to be using AI already, but they seem to be bringing their own AI. So it's not this time. It's not bring your own devices, bring your own AI, and they're not really talking about it. So half of the people are actually using it for in-depth work, but they like to keep it a secret. And that's a big problem. You guys from IT, there's no management of what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. And though the CEOs of the MATs and the teachers really want to move forward towards it, they lack plans and they lack vision. This is something very new to them. It's moving at a high speed, and they are not really being able to catch up. And they also feel that they can't see the value or promote the value in it to for example, the governing body to take those decisions to move it forward. So it's great to have the IT people on board and to move this message across. This is some statistics we have. Many people are really finding it useful, be it for saving time or giving that help for focus, that creativity bit, but mostly taking that drudgery out of the work, making work a little bit more enjoyable, less stressful in those moments that you really need to step up. This is what we're aiming for, what we think will happen. So most of our work now is sort of dealt with mundane stuff, low judgment, that drudgery stuff that we have to do to get that critical thinking across and taking those big decisions. This might be able to be the future when we work with AI as our personal assistants, getting that more time to do the stuff that really matters and thinking about it and moving forward instead of just painfully going forward. And it's not really just a technical thing. We're not talking about technology when we're talking about AI. Companies and schools as a business, they have to see it as an increase in revenue. That's a big problem with MATs these days, finding that revenue, optimizing costs, but most importantly, having their staff on board, having their employees thrive, because that's a big challenge in the education market. And there is no really better time for this, because I think this can be a catalyst to really change, reimagine education and how we've been going through it. Opportunities for AI in education. Definitely, you look at this content creation and design, that lesson planning bit, that creating that deck, that presentation, it's there to support. Lots of admin stuff that can be automated, be it in the teaching and learning or the operations side. And that's what really counts for the teachers when they're thinking about pedagogy. How can we personalize learning? How can we engage our students more? Then those virtual agents, how can we support students, be it in the class, getting that private tutor around this subject, or doing a homework at home and all that, and getting insights, the data, the amount of data you can get once you become digital, and the schools got devices that capture all that information from the students. How am I going to get insights from it? Language and learning, translations, the diversity of students you have in your schools. How can you put that translation to work all the time, be it with students or parents? Fraud detection, you know what, students are always tempted to use work to get across. And that general productivity of your staff, building AI literacy, and all other sorts of support mechanisms there. So this is happening right now. not at the same extent as it's happening in business, but schools are getting into it, and students use it a lot to do their work and summarize information, educators a lot to sort of class planning and getting that content, and leadership for efficiency stuff. And the challenges that you might have been hearing from your own schools and mats, it's sort of the privacy and security side of it, and the access and the training. This is a really big part of it. So we've got to act on these parameters in this context. Now, what does the education system feel more than the other businesses? They feel that they're less prepared, though they're really seeing, okay, this is fantastic, we want to jump on board, but leadership feels that they have no strategy, they feel de-skilled, so there's an opportunity here for a big support for the leadership in your schools and in your mats. So this is Copilot, and a little snippet of a video about how it works in education. This is the web Copilot, not the Copilot M365 that I'm going to talk more about. So this is the one you might be more familiar with, that you've played around doing your own stuff for IT, or that your teachers are doing. So this is some of the stuff that your teachers are doing for sure. It's going on lab, doing some lesson planning, creating lessons, creating content, and creating some images. It's really great to sort of support their imagination and things and how things are going. But they're using the school content, the ideas that come from school in a public place. So they're not really being able to leverage their own curriculum, for example, and the resources that they've got in their infrastructure and their context. And that's what makes sort of a difference. And this is sort of our stack around Copilot. You've got that Microsoft Copilot, and you've got the GitHub, the learning accelerators. I don't know if you do. You got Teams for education. You've got Camigo, Minecraft. All this stuff's got AI in it. And then you can enhance that with Microsoft 365 Copilot, which uses all the Microsoft 365 apps, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, etc., etc. And then you can start building on that if you want to go sort of a more customized experience with Microsoft Copilot Studio, or if it's really sort of high-level stuff, the Azure AI Studio. And this is sort of a journey that schools might take around this and things that they can do. So look at the difference now of what you can do, as we're focusing on teaching and learning now, with Copilot for M365. Look at the workflow difference. Now the teacher is going to his own document where he's got these notes and what he wants to do on photosynthesis. He can go in to a Teams group where some students mention some Q&A and put that in the lesson plan. And then he can sort of grab that and go to PowerPoint and say, well, build me a deck around this. So it completely customizes what it can do with Copilot and not just keep going back and forth and trying to adapt it. So this is what you get with Copilot 365. It's sort of that web grounding, the usual Copilot that people are used to it, and also going and grounding it on their graph API stuff, all the stuff that they do, Teams works, emails, it can capture data from any of that stuff and give it context. And also what's been done in Word documents, PowerPoint, etc. And then the school can extend it to even their own documentation and specific stuff that they can go. So it picks up on all this stack to sort of get the richness of all your data. So we're not talking about going out to the web and getting that LLM to sort of search for what's on the web. You've got that power, but also specific stuff that you can do there. So this is the big advantage of using our ecosystem and not just another sort of AI, Gen AI that's out there. Because you guys might want to learn a little bit more about this.
Microsoft 365 Copilot is powered by what we call the Copilot system, a sophisticated processing and orchestration engine. It harnesses the power of 3 foundational technologies: the Microsoft 365 apps, that's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and more. The Microsoft Graph, that's all your content and context, your emails, files, meetings, chats, and calendar. And a large language model, or LLM, a creative engine capable of parsing and producing human-readable text. All accessible through natural language. It starts with a prompt from you in an app. Copilot pre-processes the prompt through an approach called grounding. Put simply, grounding improves the quality of the prompt, so you get answers that are relevant and actionable. One of the most important parts of grounding is making a call to the Microsoft Graph to retrieve your business content and context. Copilot combines this user data from the graph with other inputs to improve the prompt. It then sends that modified prompt to the LLM. You may be familiar with what an LLM can do based on your experience with ChatGPT or Bing Chat. Copilot takes the response from the LLM and post-processes it. This post-processing includes additional grounding calls to the graph, responsible AI checks, security, compliance and privacy reviews, and command generation. Finally, Copilot sends a response to the user and commands back to the apps. Copilot iteratively processes and orchestrates these sophisticated services to produce a result that feels like magic.
So this is basically how it works. And these are the differences that you can see from a wide angle. So the Copilot from web has got that foundational capacities and the web grounding. And commercial protection in your case in schools so that your data is not is protected inside. And that's one of the things that teachers sort of keep doing instead of using your Copilot stuff, because it's protected using their own personal to use it. And then you've got basically that Copilot in Outlook and Word that we're going to have a look at, in Teams, and that Microsoft grounding, and then you can customize it from there. This is a payable license. It's around £300 a year. So for CEOs to justify this stuff, they really have to understand what it's doing and the ROI you get from it and the value you can get from it.
Is that a per user license?
Yeah. So it's £24.7 per user per month. It ends up £300 sort of a year. So it's a big investment, but from the research we've been doing and the maths we've been working on, they're realizing the amount of time they save and the quality of work they do it. It's a long, maybe a wave of deploying it. It's not a massive stuff for everybody, but this is sort of the reality, sort of. So.
Sorry, is it the A5 volume licensing?
No, you don't need to go for A5. You can have it in A3 too. Yeah. But I'll talk a little bit about security because that's a very important stuff. So the focus here is it understands the word context, and that's where you get the value from it. That's the big difference here. And then all the security stuff that you get from it, the ability to customize, and also you can actually measure the impact all the way. We've got Copilot Insights that gives you Are they using it? Where are they using it? What are they using it for? What prompts are they using it? So you really can understand the value that it's going from it. So the point here is, if you're focusing on teaching and learning, is giving your teachers time to do what they do best, and they're the only ones that can do it. It's that interaction with the students. So it's really making their life easier to be able to sort of focus on the students, and especially focus on this stuff, personalizing the students, and you as a mat leader or a department lead getting insights to what's going to happen there, so that you can give that real feedback to what's going on. So our IT people and senior leaders thinking about implementing this, they've got concerns, of course they have it, but they have to face this reality that people are already using it. And their biggest concern usually starts with this stuff: data leakage. How do you know that Copilot is not going to be searching for stuff that it's private to this people, or this people, or that it's not going to come out, etc., etc.? And we've got
Microsoft 365 Copilot is transforming work with the power of generative AI. It's built on Microsoft's comprehensive approach to enterprise-grade security, compliance, privacy, identity, and responsible AI. Copilot automatically inherits your organization's Microsoft 365 security, compliance, and privacy policies, so you know your data is protected and always in your control. It all starts with your Microsoft 365 tenant. Data stored in your tenant is encrypted and only available to the users within that tenant. Your existing Microsoft 365 permissions and policies ensure that data won't leak between users and groups. And Copilot users only have access to data they've been granted permission to see in Microsoft 365, using the same technology customers have relied on for years. Your tenant sits inside the Microsoft 365 service boundary, where Microsoft's commitments to security, compliance, data location, and privacy are upheld. The Copilot large language models, or LLMs, that process your data sit within that same boundary, much like other Microsoft 365 services. Microsoft does not have eyes-on access, which means no one can view your data. Your data is not used to train the LLMs. And our EU customers can be confident that their data is processed within the EU data boundary. Microsoft 365 Copilot, enterprise-grade security and privacy for the era of generative AI.
This is a great concern from leadership. What's happening to my data? And is it being shared or being trained in the LLM model? No, definitely not. Everything's going to be sort of within that boundary. But one of the main concerns is data oversharing and data leakage and the compliance bit. And we've got several solutions for that. And that's usually that first step, that first hurdle that IT staff has to manage and IT leaders have to manage and convince the CEOs to go about it. Going back to security, so there's all sorts of something that's been talked around here, MFA, you've got to do that stuff well. And then it's sensitivity labels is where part of the crux of the matter is. And many schools haven't been using sensitivity labels. So once you start using and deploying this, your teachers or your staff can say this is highly confidential. Confidential, is it public? The sort of managing access around this sensitivity labels and prevention policies, you can start feeling a little bit more secure on this. But this is a learning curve. And these practices have to sort of get into the teachers and the staff in school. Even at Microsoft, we had to sort of have this learning journey of we considering how to put these labels in, which I sometimes get in trouble. I share a presentation, I forgot to change the label, nobody can access it, so that it comes back. But this is great because this is what bounds Copilot and where it can go. But with E5 or A5, you can actually get automatic sensitivity labels applied. So you build a criteria and it starts applying it to everything that you have there. So it's really considering those things that take the burden out of the IT people to sort of go about it. You don't have to wait for all that process of checking out that oversharing has been done to start working with Copilot. We've created a system sort of that can, if you're not ready, you can start using restricted SharePoint search. So you can sort of block Copilot to around 100 SharePoint sites, and you can start deploying it in those things. And while you're working on your security, your staff is training, getting prepared, doing that adoption bit, changing all the sort of the learning curve there. And then you can open it up to the places where you want to go through. So this is a really sort of a bit of a game changer that we were lagging in the beginning, because now you don't have to wait for that big security bit to be sort of 100% proof, because you can start with this SharePoint restricted search. So this is a great opportunity to sort of do pilots and grow on where to go from there. Two big parts of implementing Copilot. One is thinking about personal productivity, how your teachers, your staff can actually use it in their work. And then it start thinking about business processes, workflows that go to every school, that build around the whole organization, sort of things that HR people do everywhere, or that finance does everywhere. So it's two steps to this equation. And the first sort of real thing to try on, that personal approach, can get you started in all sorts of fantastic ways. So can I have hands up to see if you have used Recap a meeting, a Teams meeting already? Oh, okay. Your thoughts on it?
No, it's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, I don't do anything now these days. I used to take notes at meetings or whatever. Now I just ask it to transcribe. It transcribes at the end of the meeting. It does a summary. It gives me actions. Somebody's got to do this. Somebody's got to do that. I send it to my customers straight away. They know what the conversation was all about. So, and sometimes I now even prefer not to go to a meeting, because I'll be losing my time, and see the summary afterwards and see if I was mentioned, for example. And there's this even thing that you can now put in your calendar. Instead of saying accepting the meeting, you can just say follow. And once the meeting is finished and the summary is there, you get an email saying, oh, this meeting it didn't mention you, whatever. So imagine that saving time. You've got it. Email threads. You'll put on an email thread. You don't really understand what's going on. You can ask it to summarize it. And in a few seconds, you sort of catch up on this. And I love doing this when I put somebody in a thread of an email. I ask it to summarize it before, and then I send an email. Oh, here's the summary of our thread. Read through it, but here's the summary. You can catch up on it. Drafting that email on the fly, sometimes it just supports you. It keeps asking you little questions. Oh, do you want to focus on this? Do you want to focus on that? What kind of answer do you want to do it? More formal, informal? So summarizing documents, heads of departments, CEOs, leads love this bit of thing, because it helps them understand all their policies. For example, a new policy comes in, summarizes PDF in 100 words or something. It lets them catch up on that. Projects, ideas. I'll show you a few videos around what it can do, but it's just giving you sort of a scope of what it can do. So I think this would be interesting. It'd be also great for some sort of thing that you can use to leverage to talk to your leadership around it. A day of the life of a teacher. So Sital, teacher of mathematics, she's been on sick leave. She's coming back, and she has to catch up on some emails. So she just asks, summarize this email thread. But there's other stuff you can do. Lots of stuff you can do. I'm going to show some videos. They're not about education, but you can put yourself in the frame of mind of a teacher or yourselves to see this. So she can summarize it. There's coaching, for example, to write an email. But there's also prioritizing. So you come back on a Monday, you've had all these emails, or you went out on a training day. You're going to have to catch up the other day. How do I know how to prioritize it? Copilot can prioritize your inbox, and it can learn with time how to do it.
Managing your inbox can feel like a full-time job. But now, Copilot in Outlook can help you prioritize what's in your inbox. It analyzes all your emails using both the content of your messages and the context of your job, like who your manager is and who's on your team, to highlight what's most important. You can then sort by priority based on Copilot's analysis. Let's take a look at this email from a new customer, Tailwind Traders. When you select it, Copilot shows you why it thinks it's significant and highlights what action you need to take. This is a key customer for the next few months, so you teach Copilot that all emails mentioning them are a top priority. Now Copilot knows to prioritize any email from tailwind traders. Copilot is your partner, helping you manage your inbox so you don't miss what's most important. Now let's switch to Outlook Mobile. You have to run to a meeting, but you don't want to leave the customer hanging, so you need to draft a response on the go. We're making it even easier to be productive on your phone with Copilot in Outlook. Copilot analyzes the email and offers some suggested responses. Now, all you have to do is pick one as your starting point and instruct Copilot on what else to add. Copilot generates a solid draft, and it's ready for editing. Because this is going to a customer, you want to make it more formal, so you ask Copilot to adjust the tone. You can easily flip through the options and select which version you like the best. The second paragraph could also use an update. You can edit it yourself or ask Copilot to help. Let's highlight the relevant section and tell Copilot what you want to include. Once you're happy with the edits, you can accept the changes and your email is ready to send.
So this is what's different about Copilot. It's a conversation. It's your personal assistant, but you have to talk to it. It gives you suggestions. Would you like to go for this? Change this. So it's a learning curve, because we usually we go to a search bar and we put some keywords there and we get an answer. Then we think about it. This is sort of a dialogue with somebody, and this is a different way of thinking, but can really make you be much more productive. And it's in your hands. You choose at every time. Now, Excel, this dazzles me because I'm not that very good at Excel, and many teachers are not. But the way you can sort of get the data and the insights out of it. So Sital, again, she has to look at the end of year assessment so that she can sort of think about what she can do for next year and grade those kids and all that sort of stuff. She can ask Copilot to create a column to show the average scores, so she doesn't even have to learn any formulas around that, or to highlight the 5 average top scores in one color or the other, so she can play graphically with the data. But because you're from IT, I put a thing around Python and Excel and what Copilot can do with that, and you'll see how magnificent it might do for your work and for any teachers or SLT that is trying to analyze data. Think a bit
We are combining Copilot in Excel with the power of Python, one of the world's most popular programming languages for working with data. You're working on your company's annual revenue forecast, planning for the next fiscal year. Normally, you could spend hours running a manual analysis of the numbers. Now, Copilot can run Python in Excel, making your job a whole lot easier. In just a couple of clicks, Copilot does an advanced analysis, reasoning over 3 years of historical sales data. Like an analyst would, Copilot opens up a new workspace where you can experiment to get the insights you're looking for, all without altering your original data. It shows a preview of what it's reasoning over, creates a plan to analyze it in a way that's immediately useful, and executes it with Python, giving you a quick picture of your numbers. Now you're ready to iterate on Copilot's work. Let's ask it to forecast your annual revenue for the next 2 years. Copilot repeats the pattern, creating a plan for how it will tackle the task, running Python in Excel to execute its analysis, giving you a fast and detailed analysis, and prompting you to iterate and ask questions about its work. If you want to make any of the edits to the Python code itself, you can do so directly in the workbook. This is the power of bringing Python directly into the Excel grid. Let's take it a step further. You want to understand how best to meet your revenue goals, which customers have the highest potential upside. So you go back to your original customer data and ask Copilot to use advanced analysis to rank customers based on upsell opportunity. As Python in Excel gets to work, it jumps back to your analysis workspace. It prioritizes the most helpful metrics and provides a preview of the data it will use. It ranks them, and within moments, you have a prioritized table. You want to see a visualization of the customer ranking and understand the weighting methodology Copilot used. Copilot quickly creates a chart and gives you a detailed breakdown of how it arrived at the answer. Within minutes, you've worked with Copilot to create a full analysis of your data, all without writing a single line of code. And now you're ready to send the analysis to your sales team and collaborate on it together.
So imagine your finance team working with this stuff with your support, the amount of time they would save, the insights they would get, and ed teachers or eds of years looking at data from students with this. It gives them, it's also about democratizing power in your maths and your schools, because they're able to use Excel in a completely different way. And the amount of work it saves you, sort of having these people more knowledgeable and being able to get this data easily. Another situation that this teacher might get into, she's asked to do sort of some lesson planning of something she hasn't done before or something new, and she turns to Word, and she can be very specific on the prompt that she does because it's getting her own data. So you're a school teacher, putting that context in, delivering a 10-minute presentation on healthy relationships to a class of 11 years old, create a document detailing key items to cover, a talk track, and it should be simple and include a quiz at the end. Look at the amount of stuff that it's coming through. And this is just an example. Here's another one using Word and creating.
With Copilot in Word, you have an invaluable partner working at your side, helping you become a better writer. You will now be able to seamlessly integrate work data directly into your document. Let's use an example where you need to respond to an RFP. To get started, you ask Copilot to reference the latest product specs and mirror the approved format previously used. You had a great meeting on the customer's needs, so you ask Copilot to pull in details from the meeting and chat. Copilot gets to work, creating a plan to craft the document. Within seconds, Copilot executes its plan, automatically attaches a security label to match the source material, and creates your first draft, a task that otherwise may have taken you or someone in your team hours to complete. Now it's time to iterate on Copilot's work. It looks like it didn't include updated pricing for this customer. Let's ask it to reference an email and pull in the discount. The proposal could also use a little more information about your key value propositions, including your certifications and standards. This will look best as a table in your document. Let's add why these certificates are important for retailers. There you go. Now, with the help of Copilot in Word, you have a polished RFP response in the fraction of the time it would have taken for you to do on your own, and you're ready to review and share the document with your team and the customer.
So this is the big difference, how you can use your documentation, your templates, your emails to sort of feed into that document straight away. Now, Sital's got some conversation going around a project, and it's been going on in Teams. She was out. She doesn't know what happened in their Teams, and she can actually query the Teams chat and the conversations to understand what's been going on.
Copilot in Teams can now reason over both the meeting transcript and the meeting chat to give you a complete picture of what was discussed. You meet as a team to discuss the customer's RFP. As the meeting wraps, you think you might have missed some questions in the chat. Often the best ideas and the most thoughtful questions happen in the chat. Now, Copilot in Teams captures this valuable, higher bandwidth conversation. Let's open up Intelligent Recap and ask Copilot if you missed any questions. It quickly scans what was said and what was in the chat, looks for questions, and checks if any were left unanswered. Now you have a list of any open questions without having to scroll back through the chat. With the help of Copilot in Teams, you can quickly and easily stay on the same page with your team.
So this is the meeting notes I was telling you about. That it's sort of, I copy this, send it to our customers straight away. If I want to go back and check some of the stuff they did, look how easy it is. I just have to click here because I'm, oh, it was Addie that said this or said that. So I go straight there. And I can, if I wasn't in the meeting, I can just say, was I mentioned? Was this topic mentioned? Any actions for me to do? So I don't have to go through that meeting and catching it all up. So look at what this would do to your SLT. Do you save time to departmental meetings, the time that people are out, they're sick, they're on sick leave, they have to come back, catch up on all that sort of stuff. It's really pretty fantastic in the time that it saves and the quality that it goes. Let's look at one last thing, PowerPoint stuff. How it, from that plan, imagine, that was created for that lesson, how it can really customize and do a PowerPoint presentation with that, with a talk track and using the template of the school. That's one problems in maths. Every teacher does it differently. You've got no coherence, no thing about it. And as they grow, they have to sort of get this thing going much better.
Copilot in PowerPoint is your creative partner as you iterate and co-create to develop your presentation. Let's say you're a sales lead getting ready to pitch a new retail customer. You ask Copilot to create a compelling pitch deck in your company template that shows how your product will attract shoppers and keep them in the store longer. Now, with Copilot in PowerPoint's new narrative builder, you are in creative control. It starts with a draft outline, where you can reorder the flow, delete topics you don't want, or add new ones, and ensure you've got a solid outline before creating a presentation. Let's add a section on our key value props tailored to customer insights. And another section with customer testimonials. Within seconds, you have a content outline, and you're ready to start on your presentation. Copilot makes a plan for creating the slides and executes it, crafting the titles and draft copy, pulling in images from your corporate library, and applying your company's PowerPoint template so the presentation is on brand. Now you're ready to iterate with Copilot as your partner. It looks like this slide could use an image. You tell Copilot what you're looking for, and within seconds, it provides several options from your company's approved image library. Copilot can also provide AI-generated images using Designer and DALL-E 3. Now that you've selected a photo, PowerPoint gives you several slide design options aligned to your company brand guidelines to choose from. You can keep iterating, but let's see what Copilot has helped you build so far. It added speaker notes to every slide, built slide transitions, and added animations, giving you a professional-looking presentation that's on brand. With Copilot as your design, writing, and editing partner, you can focus on nailing your pitch.
So going back to that value mention that we were talking about, if you look at the price of it and what a teacher or an SLT can do with it, you can start really realizing that to save time, the quality of work they can do, it's really sort of a no-brainer to go around it, because the school becomes a completely different workspace. And this is sort of working on this sort of level of generic skills and departmental skills, and you can sort of then start moving up to that Copilot Studio or Azure Studio and bring in real extensibility of that work that it's going on there. So there's lots of areas. I've been focusing on this bit here, sort of what Med Central teams can do, what ed teachers can do, or SLTs, and then class teachers and all that sort of stuff. But there's also the value for that business of education part, the finance, the IT professionals, the HR team. So you can sort of try and get value from all this stuff and talk to your leadership around this, because there's all sorts of stuff you can do with these groups of people. People always think about how it's important to support teachers and students in their learning, and how Copilot is, when we talk about education, that's the focus, but the operations bit can actually be supported lots around this stuff. And for this, we've got enormous resources. So because we study this industry-wide, you can have a look at finance, sort of record keeping, planning and analysis, legal stuff, HR, very important. It's so difficult for schools to get good finance staff now and HR people, if you can support them, this is a way of sort of retaining the staff that you have there. Oh, I'm looking at the time. So day in the life of an HR manager, financial analyst, IT admin, you might recognize yourself in this stuff. So we've got all sorts of journeys around that. And I'm conscious of time, so I'm gonna, I wanted to talk about accessibility stuff, how Copilot can really support on that, but I'm gonna just move quickly because we've finished our time.
AI has a
have a look later, sort of supporting dyslexia, neurodiversity, mobility, and vision. Copilot is so important for that. There's so many opportunities there for that. And a little bit about where this is going. So we've been talking about personal assistants, but now it's becoming a team assistant. And then you have those agents who can automate lots of processes. Just a little bit about the team Copilot, and then I'll just put one slide. But I think this is great for you guys to think about what it can do.
Team Copilot expands Copilot from Microsoft 365 from a personal assistant to a team assistant that becomes a valuable member of the team. It gets added to a meeting and group chat like any other participant, making it visible for everyone to interact with. Here, Copilot has been added to a meeting as the meeting facilitator, helping the team focus on having a productive conversation. Copilot shares the agenda in the meeting chat, and anyone can add topics without interrupting the active discussion. It actively tracks time, providing reminders when it's time to move on to the next topic. Copilot will also take notes during the discussion that anyone can edit or add to, and flags follow-up tasks for everyone to see. Let's switch over to Teams chat. Here, Copilot has been added as a collaborator to help streamline communications. As the conversation happens, Copilot maintains an up-to-date view of important information for everyone to see. This includes surfacing an unresolved issue for the team. Copilot will also help the team work together to resolve open issues. Here, a team member asks Copilot for recommendations and grounds the prompt with a relevant document. Copilot instantly responds with suggestions for the team to consider. Once the team has agreed on a solution, Copilot automatically updates the notes pane, removing the open issue and detailing the decision made. With Team Copilot assisting in new ways, the entire team will be more productive and collaborative.
There you go. It starts supporting our collaborative work, which is really important, and that facilitator that goes there. And then you can start going into the world of agents, and there's agents to retrieve stuff, to do stuff, and really some autonomous agents. So how you can, if you've been using Power Apps, so imagine Copilot mixed with Power Apps and trying to do all that sort of stuff. And I'm going to finish here with an end message. Stuff you can do in SharePoint, Copilot Studio, but this is what I wanted to focus on. It's really not just a technological change. This is the big change that we all have to support. You might put this forward if you don't care about the human change and talking to, I don't know, your user enablement lead or your digital transformation lead. Nothing like this is going to work. And the good news is that we have never been so prolific in having support for change management and user enablement. So if you look at the amount of resources that you have to support you on this, it's pretty awesome. We've got detailed guides about how to choose your digital champions, how to talk to your stakeholders, so how to move the whole process with time slots and all that sort of stuff. Emails to send, even templates of emails to send to your CEO, to your staff, training slots. So it's, if you look at this stuff, you feel really comfortable that it's not just your technical bit, but once you start talking to that person who's going to lead this project together, you'll really have a great opportunity to make this a successful thing. And that's it. Oh yeah, adoption and measurement. All these tools you have to sort of then measure it. I'm going to sit here because I think we had the gist of it. Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very informative.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah. Hang on.
There you go.
In regards to the
that anytime soon. What we're trying to do for the education as a sector is trying to gouge the amount of opportunity here so that we can go back to Corp, Microsoft, big, and trying to say, hey, there's a big opportunity in the education space. Let's try and support these customers. For now,
I would like to push for it, but that's going to be $250,000 for me.
Absolutely, absolutely,
so I'm
yeah.
not going to be touching it out until.
Yeah. I would say just before thinking that, I know it's a lot of money. Look at those personas and the way, if you look at the ROI people can get from it, time saved and all that sort of stuff. What I have to say to that is we've got workshops to support finding the value in this. Sort of people go to your school and say, well, let's sit down with the HR people, with the finance, with the teachers. Let's look at what you do and think, okay, Copilot's going to save 10 minutes in this class, 5 minutes in this class. You see, and try and understand, oh, okay, this is real data we can use to sort of support the ROI, where we realize the sort of the impact it has financially. And what we're trying to do is really make sure that you take the right decision. We're doing this because we've analyzed it, we've piloted it, and we want to move forward. It has to be sort of seen in waves. So if you can start with the Math Central team, getting a few licenses to those guys. And then let's start going to headships of schools, then SLTs, then middle leadership. So this might take 1, 2, 3, 4 years. But you can't risk going slow on this journey because your teachers are using it. And so that's the crux of the matter.
I think in the context of public sector education in the UK, you are going to miss the mark on that pricing. Schools at the moment have got some of the lowest funding we've had in more than a decade. And schools are looking at redundancies of staff.
Absolutely.
Existing staff are a sunk cost. So if we turn to staff or save some time, from a leadership and a management point of view, it won't matter because they've already paid for that time for their staff to work. So saying, oh, this will save X amount of time and that, the leadership team can't do it. You've got schools having to juggle replacing infrastructure versus a nice product, brilliant product. But it would not be possible, I would say, if you ask the majority of head teachers in public sector education in England at that price point. When you could put it this way, our Microsoft license, that just getting this would take it and multiply it by 8. So we would be paying 8 times as much for one extra service.
Definitely.
Or we could hire 2 new members of teaching staff.
I think they're going to ever tie it into one of the licenses instead of having it as a separate thing.
Yeah,
Or like their top license just included in
yeah, we're really working hard from the education bit to try and see how this can work better for education, and we realize it's a big investment. But then again, look at this bit. We've been working with a few mats already that got tons of licenses and all that sort of stuff, or are planning to waive it out. This is much of the reasoning is, okay, what if we can optimize all our processes around finance, admin stuff that saves time teacher to go for it. This is where some of them are starting. Operations. Then we can save money. If we can save money here, we can support these guys here. So
free trial, sorry.
no free trial, no.
I'm sure they do. The web-based one, I think they do a free one. But
But not for M365. So yeah.
Any other questions?